That is really the tagline for Phantom Menace. Things you don't really need, right? That's the kind of Star Wars movie it is.
He's embarrassing.
All right, on today's episode of Looper Got It Wrong, I found a list on Looper called Ranking Every Star Wars Movie from Worst to Best. And I thought this would be a great opportunity on the 25th anniversary of the release of The Phantom Menace to defend it?
The editors and writers of Looper.com do not endorse or condone this video. From their point of view, we're the real Phantom Menace. The video producers of the Looper YouTube channel, however, hope you enjoy.
So we at Looper gave it the worst of the 11 theatrically released Star Wars films. I am not going to be able to tell you that this is a great movie, but I do not think it's the worst Star Wars movie. So I'm going to try to do the greatest Jedi mind trick of all time and tell you why Phantom Menace isn't that bad. I remember being a teenager the year that Phantom Menace came out, right? The buildup was tremendous. I remember stealing magazines from every tanning salon my mom was frequenting, anything that would have an image or a blurb about Star Wars. I was so excited to get my first new theatrical Star Wars experience. This was going to be the greatest day of my life until I showed up and the movie started. Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace, is a very rushed hodgepodge of ideas that it's actually shocking that this movie was allowed to happen the way it was. This might be one of the greatest cinematic crimes of all time, if I'm being honest. And I'm still making the case that this is not the worst Star Wars. This is what happens when no one can say no to George Lucas. Immediately, you see the Star Wars logo. You hear the score kick in. You see it crawl. And by the time you read the first sentence, you go, oh my God, no, I'm in trouble. But it's okay, because we've got two Jedi sipping tea. Not bad, right? It's so bad. It's so unbelievably bad. So Phantom Menace walks this line poorly, drunkenly at best, between trying to give us new things, right? Your Qui-Gon Jinns, your Naboo, Amidala, and it has all of these things that we also are supposed to be instantly reconnected with. So if you're gonna play the new characters and the old characters card at the same time, it has to matter, which it never does in Phantom Menace.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.
No, Mrs. Stay.
The sin of Phantom Menace they've never been able to correct ever in my book is Jar Jar. And I want to go right off the bat. It was not the actor's fault that Jar Jar doesn't work. Jar Jar was you could have put Daniel Day-Lewis as Jar Jar Binks and that was going to be a failure. Every scene he's in is just wrong and awful. And they do so many gags where Jar Jar is stepping in and or near poop. And it's so bad. It's so horribly offensive.
I need a midichlorian count.
Midichlorians is the second greatest crime ever committed against Star Wars fans behind Jar Jar. The fact that you took, instead of just being a noble, honorable person who could connect with this good life force that's all around us to better your position in life, or if you were a huge prick, you could channel it for evil, right? That even makes sense, right? We've all seen Wall Street. Greed is good. We get that. The fact that you reduce this down to a bacterial infection run amok so that we can do a half-assed Jesus symbology just because Shmi Skywalker, she never got any, and he's full of bacteria, we're just assuming that that's a good thing? This is not divine. All we know is that he's full of fungus and that she's telling us things that we can't verify. I think it's horrendous. Anyone who ever says midichlorian in my presence, I will try to karate kick you. I'll probably tear every tendon in my leg doing it. It's the worst.
Check it out, Corporal. We'll cover you. Roger, Roger.
That's the third biggest crime perpetrated on the audience, the Roger Roger droids. What an absolute embarrassment. We live in a world where we've seen Terminator, and that's the robot army of the future you give us, right? It's almost like our vacuum cleaners now stood up. And then it's in the deep space and they're still controlled by like a home Wi-Fi unit, like my own refrigerator. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just so mad at this.
Dumb droid.
There are moments, right? Like when they opened the door for the first time and through the smoke that was supposed to gas the Jedi out, you see the lightsabers turn on. That's pretty cool. This is the first time that we actually saw fully badass Jedi. Seeing Jedis actually fight with their lightsabers in beautiful, beautiful flowing combat, that cannot be undervalued. Remember the first time we had ever seen a lightsaber duel? It was like 92-year-old Alec Guinness versus a Darth Vader that was a bodybuilder and could not move. Me and my sons have better lightsaber duels than what was in A New Hope, and what was in most of the original trilogy. Phantom Menace gets at least 2 stars just for that. In total defense of Phantom Menace, right? The 2 best things we got out of Phantom Menace, the 3 best things, right? The look of Darth Maul, journeying and questing with Qui-Gon Jinn, a true Jedi, like a worthy Jedi who actually has powers in his grave. And John Williams' Duel of the Fates, right? Like when those things all hit at the end of the movie, we are really pulverized and battered, right? Like the spaceship when it lands on Tatooine, we are missing crucial parts to finish this journey. Then all of a sudden the music hits, then the double lightsaber hits, then Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan fire up their lightsabers. And all of a sudden we are given new life. You cannot say that you are a Star Wars fan, even a fan who hates the prequels as much as I do. When that moment hits, that is as magical a moment as Star Wars has ever had. That is as good as it gets. If Anakin had been perched somewhere, having Anakin watch all of this play out and put this power struggle in his mind as we see him in the next film already colliding with the Jedi Council, that would have made this probably the greatest scene in Star Wars history, if I'm honest. Having Anakin there and having Darth Maul know how to do basic high ground defense, which is a pretty important thing in the Star Wars mythology. To say that Darth Maul's death is the lamest in the entire franchise, I do not think is an exaggeration. Because how could you create something that good and then completely bastardize it the way they did with Darth Maul? But that kind of becomes the running thesis of the prequel trilogy, right? Is here are these things that you love, and here are these new things that you're also going to love. And then they suck and kick you in the balls and make you cry. But this is like other than Jar Jar, this is the other biggest blunder of the movie. Like a huge, epic failure, that death. He's the one character in Star Wars who does not have the advantage when he has the high ground. My God. I'm just like blacking out with rage. I don't know what I'm saying. That moment, Duel of the Fates and the Jedi, that is as magical as Star Wars has ever been. Bar none. Now, Looper said this is the worst of the 11 cinematic movies. Let's dispel this. It is impossible to say that Phantom Menace is worse than Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones is such a mess. The only thing that Attack of the Clones has going for it is this kind of blossoming relationship of Obi-Wan and Anakin, which, while it's fun, cannot fill the 2 hours of nothingness, and we're gonna finally see a bunch of Jedi fight at the same time, but it's kind of shot really fast and from very far away to where it's not really that cool other than the Mace Windu moment. Creatures aren't that cool, the bug people aren't that cool. I'm fine to impose a no Dooku rule ever. Christopher Lee, yes. Dooku, check your ass at the door. I love Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee is one of the greatest human beings, most interesting human beings who's ever lived. And to see him reduced to this is so unbelievably sad. And really, disgracing Christopher Lee is a sin that Star Wars should not be let off the hook for. Where was that guy? He was just like in a Hawaiian shirt on some other desert planet, and they're like, all right, you're number 2 now. Part 2 is utterly forgettable. And then if you go one step above that, because its production value's a little better, the second most forgettable Star Wars film, maybe not forgettable enough for most of us, is Solo. Solo is nearly unwatchable. If you pull Chewbacca and Donald Glover out of Solo, we would have had pitchforks at the movie theater. So at a minimum, those 2 films are worse than Phantom Menace. Now I know what some people are gonna say. They're going for Rise of Skywalker. I don't think Rise of Skywalker hits the depths that a Phantom Menace does, right? So while I know it's fresh and people hate the Rise of Skywalker, it never hits the absolute torturous depths, right? The hung upside down, electricity coursing through your nipples punishment that a Phantom Menace was. I think you have to argue Revenge of the Sith versus Phantom Menace.
Hello there.
The big argument is, do you like the Darth Maul fight better? Or do you like Anakin versus Obi-Wan? It's a little more iconic, and the fighting is absolutely beautiful. Even thinking about Revenge of the Sith hurts me. It hurts my soul. Again, we've got an asthmatic character who wasn't cool until a cartoon came out and fixed him. We've got Dooku's untimely demise, also not cool. Anakin knocks someone up, we don't get to watch it, that would have been cool. Anakin kills younglings. I'm not saying I want to see it, but if you're gonna tell me he did it, I should see one. I should see one little robe disappear, right? Like he got out of there in time. I don't know. The fact that Order 66, we kill all the Jedis in less than 2 minutes of screen time, it's so bad. And the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight is great. But then at the end of the movie, we watch Darth Vader go, no. So here's my question to you, right? The first one out the gate, trying to reignite the franchise, or part 3 that has all of the gravitas built up with all of the new characters, I would say that one under-delivers at a higher level than a Phantom Menace. So for me, that's where I would ask you as the audience to draw the line. For me, I think Phantom Menace achieves a little bit more than even Revenge of the Sith. So I would say Attack of the Clones is the worst, Solo is second, and then I have Revenge of the Sith as the 3rd worst Star Wars film, because that just did almost nothing except cut away from important moments. I don't give you credit for that. I don't give you credit for that. So I think Phantom Menace is the 4th worst Star Wars film of all time. The prequels are things that are hard to live with. But here's the benefit. What Star Wars: A Phantom Menace did, and it did exceptionally well, I can't even argue it, is it set the stage for way better and more creative minds to come through and add upon it. Let's think of the prequel trilogy as manure. It's manure that we spread all over the creative ground and can get better stuff out of, right? It is the fecal matter that lets better ideas and writers flourish to where we have things that are actually of value. So if nothing else, the prequels gave us that. It gave us a lot of cool characters and worlds and stuff to love. So you can't all the way dump on it, but it is, with Solo, the 4 worst Star Wars movies ever made. So then to go from there, right? So you've got your Phantom Menace. The next bottom one is Rise of the Skywalker. That was an unwinnable fight to make those 2 movies work and to make fans happy. Rogue One. I think Rogue One is visually stunning, narratively unfulfilling, right? Last Jedi. Another one, really beautiful. I liked a lot of stuff in it. Kind of a hodgepodge of things that didn't work for me. Then I'm going Force Awakens. Then I'm going Jedi. Then I'm going A New Hope. And if you don't have The Empire Strikes Back as the best Star Wars movie, I feel like this is a hipster thing you're doing. Empire is so dramatically better than every other Star Wars film made. I applaud people that have the guts to make the case that it's not. I think it's brave. I think, like me today, trying to defend Phantom Menace, I think you're a fellow hero, and I appreciate you. So in summation, Star Wars: A Phantom Menace is not the 11th worst Star Wars film, it's the 8th worst Star Wars film. It's a huge gap. I know it's a bitter disagreement, but someone had to say it out loud, right? Someone had to kind of defend Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and I guess it had to be me. Sorry, Looper, you got this one wrong. I don't know what to say. She's like, it won't matter, they're Star Wars people, they'll just yell at you, right? And I was like, yeah, that's true. Like, no matter what I said, people will be mad.